I wonder if you can talk to us a little bit more about ultra-processed foods and the impact on
Sure.
metabolic health.
So as I said, ultra-processed food is not food
Uh-huh.
for the reasons that we've just discussed. There is a company in the Middle East, the Nestle of the Middle East, if you will.
Uh-huh.
It's called KDD,
Uh-huh.
Kuwaiti Danish Dairy Company. And they make all sorts of crap. They make flavored yogurts. They make frozen, ice cream. They make flavored milks. They make confectionery, biscuits, tomato sauces. Okay, look. The CEO and founder of KDD is a Kuwaiti national born in the UK who fed Kuwait through the first Gulf War. And Queen Elizabeth knighted him.
Wow.
So he is Sir Muhammad. So how many Sir Muhammads do you know?
Not many.
He is a wonderful guy.
Okay.
Okay, he is a prince. The guy is an absolute, a stand-up guy. I love him. Okay, but Sir Muhammad, eating his own food, weighed 350 pounds and had type 2 diabetes and back pain at age 48.
Wow. Yeah.
And so he went to his UK doctors, and his UK doctors gave him insulin and oral hypoglycemics, and he got worse. And he felt awful. And so he said, I've got to figure out what to do. So he started going on the internet and doing his own, research. And he found Jason Fung and me. Jason is an adult nephrologist in Toronto who has seen enough diabetic nephropathy in his day and has, glommed on to intermittent fasting as a primary, therapeutic tool. Fair enough. And found me. And anyway, he started doing what we said, and he lost 100 pounds. His type 2 diabetes went away. His back pain resolved, and he thinks we hung the moon. Okay, that's all good. And then he has his aha moment, his moment of epiphany. Wait a second. If I did this to myself, eating my own crap, what am I doing to the rest of the Middle East? And so he talked with his sister, who was the chief financial officer, and they agreed. Since they're privately held, they don't have Wall Street quarterly reports, they don't have shareholders to placate, that they would take the long view and they wanted to turn their company around and make it metabolically healthy. Now, how do you do that? So they called me and they said, we would like to engage you in a long-term project to help us develop the method for being able to make processed food healthy. Now, initially, when I heard that, I thought to myself, that's a fool's errand. That ain't going to happen. But, the more I thought about it, I said, there are certain principles that we could certainly make things better. And so I convened a scientific advisory team, Dr. Gao, fatty acid expert, Dr. Tim Harlan, who's head of culinary medicine at George Washington University.
Well. Yeah.
Wonderful guy. Love him. Okay. Best dressed doctor in
Yeah,
America.
he is. Yeah.
I love it. I love Tim. He's like my bro.
Yeah.
Wolfram Alderson, my social media director, and has been in the food business for a long time. And Andreas Kornstadt from Hamburg, who is a computer data scientist, Stanford trained. And we convened the five of us, and we developed a protocol, a set of tiers criteria. KDD, submitted all of their various ingredients for chemical analysis by the company Eurofins. And basically what we did was, over the course of the 3 years of the project, we developed the roadmap for being able to take a company and take the item, the 180 items, the 180 SKUs in this company, and turn them around to be metabolically healthy. And to KDD's credit, 10% of their portfolio has turned around.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
That's like in my mind, that's almost like the pinnacle of your career. Everything that you've been doing and working up to this point is changing the giants that produce, 80-90% of our foods?
Indeed. And the point is that obviously if KDD alone does it, it goes nowhere. But, that's why we told KDD at the beginning of the project that our goal was to publish this. This had to reach the general public, so that it could be used as a template for other companies to be able to do the same thing. And that was, inherent in our initial agreement. And so we published this in Frontiers in Nutrition back on March 30th. It's called The Metabolic Matrix, Re-engineering Ultra-Processed Food to Protect the Liver, Feed the Gut, and Support the Brain.
This is wonderful. I'm getting sort of like goosebumps, because if you're creating the playbook for a company the size, perhaps it's not as big as Nestle or
it's not as big as Nestle. It's big enough.
It's big enough to demonstrate to the bigger players that this is possible and this is the direction of travel.
Scalable, and profitable.
Absolutely, yeah. Because I always think, these large companies get a bad rap for good reason, but they were tasked with creating portable, long shelf life, palatable foods and distributing them at a global scale. And they've done that fantastically at the expense of metabolic health.
That's
at the
correct.
Expense of our
metabolic health was the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah, exactly. And
That's
so if
right.
you're demonstrating that you can do all those things plus metabolic health, that's phenomenal. That's really going to have a massive impact on health across the world.
And that's the goal.
Brilliant. And how, it's probably going to be very involved, but how did you manage to get 10% of their entire SKU to be metabolically healthy? Was it the addition of?
Oh no, we've gotten their whole SKU to be metabolically healthy.
The whole SKU.
Well, they've just been able to initiate. I mean, they have to go slow. Number one, it means trade-offs in terms of vendors. It means trade-offs in terms of procedures. It means trade-offs in terms of machinery. It means trade-offs in terms of marketing and packaging. This is not something that you just snap your fingers and all of a sudden it's done. Okay, it has to be phased. And so they've been able to do this thus far with 10%. The goal is for the whole line to ultimately change. And the most important thing, and this is kind of weird, but the most important thing was they didn't tell the public about it.
Interesting. So
because if they told the public about it, they say, doesn't taste good. Anytime you say something's healthy, it doesn't taste good. It's like an automatic.
Yeah.
When you don't tell the public, they don't know the difference.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Alicia Crum, I believe, in Stanford University, she's done studies about the perception of healthy foods, and people immediately make the assumption that it's not going to taste nice.
That's right.
If it's got a health.
That's right. Tom Robinson took the same hamburger and wrapped it in two different, wrapped it in a McDonald's wrapper, wrapped it in a brown paper wrapper, and automatically the one in the McDonald's wrapper tasted better. This is, play on your brain.
Yeah. And was it with the addition of things like functional fibers to the original products, or was it a real sort of rewriting the?
No, we're adding fibers to things that normally didn't have fiber. We're adding fatty acids and omega-3s to things that didn't have omega-3s. So there's a lot of additions. There's a few subtractions. We're getting rid of the emulsifiers. We're getting rid of a lot of the artificial colors because they generate reactive oxygen species.
Interesting. And price?
It's a little, it's a little bit more expensive. What we learned was you can't get rid of all the sugar. If you go straight to non-caloric sweeteners, it doesn't taste very good. Rupi, have you ever tasted a no sugar chocolate bar?
I don't believe I have, although I may have tried. Oh no, I did. I've tried a diabetic bar before. It wasn't very nice.
Yeah, right. It wasn't very nice. Exactly right. It wasn't very nice. You would never go back for a second one if you had a choice, would you?
No.
That's right. All right. Fact of the matter is, you need a little sugar to activate that nucleus accumbens, to make it rewarding. The question is how much? So we had to walk the fine line between activation of the nucleus accumbens and not overloading the liver. 1 teaspoon per serving. 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon will get you the nucleus accumbens effect without the liver effect. Okay, 1 teaspoon per serving. That's not enough for an ice cream. That's not enough for a flavored milk. What we learned was we could use a sugar extender beyond that, one that has metabolic benefits of its own, the one that we have chosen, the one that we think is going to be the winner in this non-nutritive sweetener battle, is allulose.
Allulose, okay.
Allulose. And allulose has some very promising metabolic health benefits, including lowering of LDL, raising of HDL. Looks good. Don't see any, toxicities at the moment. It's an epimer of fructose. It's metabolized appropriately as opposed to generating, byproducts like aspartame and stuff like that. Not good. Problem right now is that allulose, number one, is 12 times as expensive as sugar.
Oh, wow.
But it's coming down because demand is going up, and there are new methods for production that will reduce cost. And also, currently, the EFSA has said allulose is okay, but the Gulf Cooperation Council has not yet.
Okay.
So we're actually waiting to institute those. So lots of work yet to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And is allulose excreted by the liver?
Kidney.
Kidney, sorry. Okay, yeah. Yeah. And there aren't any local effects that we know of allulose?
Not that we know of.
Interesting. Bringing this full circle, I guess, to the non-nutritive assets of sugar, have you come to the conclusion that it's not sugar per se, but the excess of sugar that is causing the issues?
Yeah, basically, we have a limited capacity to metabolize anything. Paracelsus, 1537, nothing is without poison. The dose determines the poison. Indeed, that is correct. In excess, water is toxic. In excess, oxygen is toxic. All right, but there's no abuse potential. With sugar, there is. With alcohol, there is. So when you're both toxic and addictive, you got a problem. So we need to recognize that fact. Any substance that is both toxic and addictive and ubiquitous and has negative impact on society, we regulate. Tobacco, alcohol, opioids, etc. Okay? For sugar, we have nothing. And, public health officials and politicians need to recognize this, inconvenient truth in order to be able to make headway. We have 1,500 years of alcohol control policy. Every country in the world has an alcohol control policy. We need sugar control policies.